Yeah, I have the notification. Very good. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to District 3 District Advisory Board meeting for November 2nd, 2020.
December 2nd.
Sorry, December 2nd, 2020. Yes, please, let's not go back in time. I had it pulled up here. Give me just a second. The agenda. I'll call the meeting to order. Has everybody had a chance to see the agenda? Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made to the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none. I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor? Oh, any further discussion? Richard?
No, I was just going to wait for a voting aye.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Perfect. Motion carries. Oh, good. We have Ronald on with us as well now. So perfect. Approval of the minutes for November 4th, 2020. Has everybody had a chance to see the minutes? Are there any corrections or additions that need to be made? Okay, seeing none, I would move that I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor for approval of the minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Wichita Police Department report. Who do we have that is going to start us off tonight?
How you doing?
Good, Officer Thompson, take it away.
Yep, Officer Manny Thompson. I'm a community policing officer out at Patrol East. Been out at Patrol East for 2 years. Well, no, actually 2 months. This is my first Zoom meeting, so been out to Patrol East for 2 months, and the rest of my time was out at Patrol North. I've been on for 6 years.
Welcome to Southeast Wichita.
All right. Well, I hope you all are staying safe. It's been a crazy year. Hope it ends sometime soon. Fingers crossed. First, I'll go over some of the Part 1 crime statistics, and then I'll go over some of the special assignments that we've been working, specifically out at Patrol East, to help deter crime. So I'll start off with homicides. The last 28 running days, we've had no homicides in the DAB 1 zone. We've had 9 robberies of commercial businesses in the DAB 1 zone. It's up 33% from October, but it's down almost 35% from our 5-year running average. Burglaries to residents, we've had 18 in the last 28 days. It's down 8% from October. Larceny from auto, that's a big issue citywide. Just out in the DAB 3 zone, we've had 58 larceny from autos in the last 28 days. Now, all of Patrol East-wide, we've had 28 of those 58 larceny from autos had credit card or debit cards taken in all of Patrol East-wide. But just in DAB 3 zone, we've had 9. I wrote a couple examples of some of the items that were stolen out of vehicles. Without giving away too much information, we've wallets, driver's licenses that have personal info, date of birth, address, that kind of thing. The suspects will use for identity theft, or they'll sell them for other people to use as identity theft tools. ATM debit cards, paperwork like billing information, water bill, cell phone bill, that kind of thing. A big one that we had down on South Webb We had about a little over $100 cash stolen out of this car. I had a driver's license and 9 credit cards. 9 credit cards. One of those credit cards were used for a little bit over $700 illegal purchases with a stolen credit card. So in order to combat this issue, the beat that I work myself is 36 beat. We have a ton of apartment complexes up Harry and then Webb. Some of the other apartment complexes that are DAB 3 area, we've sent emails out with information advisories to get sent out to tenants. We've even gone door to door, leaving flyers. Just this morning, some other colleagues that I work with at the ECP office, we created a info type video where we have, it's like professionally filmed. We have an officer is in plain clothes. He goes out to his car. He leaves the key in ignition. He's like, oh, I left something inside. So he goes inside to get something. And we have another person come and steal the car, that kind of thing. Which that leads me into auto theft. So in the last 28 days, we've had 25 auto thefts. Well, that's down from our 5-year average, which is surprising and is still high. So it's 25 auto thefts in the last 28 days, and these are reported. So to combat the larceny from autos and also the auto theft, aside from we do follow up, and detectives also do follow up on the illegal use of financial cards that are stolen from those vehicles. We are at currently 30 days in on a total of 90-day pilot program called Flock. So the way that Flock works is at certain like busy intersections, we have cameras that are powered by UV light. So it doesn't take electricity or batteries or anything like that. So I have cameras on all 4 corners we have 66 cameras up citywide. Well, no, actually take that back. Patrol East and Patrol South for now. No, Patrol East and Patrol North for now. North and South will possibly get added in the future. But what these cameras do, they take photographs of license tags as they drive by. If it's a stolen tag, a stolen car, a known violent offender, missing person, those type of alerts, it alerts us immediately. And then if we're in the area, we usually go and try to track down that car. So in just 30 days, we've recovered a little over $500,000 in vehicles. So that's 55 cars. We've recovered 32 stolen plates. We made 51 arrests, and we've recovered 13 guns. And just today, we made 3 arrests and recovered 1 firearm. So that's it for the stats. If you have any questions, you can ask afterwards. I can give you my email address, something like that. Last month on the 11th, Patrol East Community Policing, we participated in a Veterans Day celebration that was out at the at one of the area restaurants up north. We made contact with hundreds of 400 or 500 veterans and their families. We're at one of the restaurants that were giving out food vouchers on Veterans Day. You might have heard of that. Right now, currently, Patrol East CP, we're doing a coat drive. We're doing it up until the 19th. And with this coat drive, we're also obtaining canned goods, canned foods, and like the CP office is filling up from the floor to the ceiling with stuff. So we're doing a really good job with that. We have tons of coats, some used, some new, a ton of food, canned food, and that kind of thing. So that's good. Then also I'm a mounted patrol officer. So with the holidays coming up, another thing that we're doing to help combat larceny from autos, especially during the holidays, is we ride our mounted horses in the parking lots of certain areas while people are inside shopping. Because a lot of times when you go to maybe Target, the next you want to go to Best Buy or whatever, you might be leaving your expensive items in your car, which is a big no-no. So we'll ride our horses down those parking lots, 2 officers per lot. We're up high on those horses where we can see. That's a big time deterrent to where people aren't having TVs and stuff like that stolen. Some of the areas that we'll be riding, like Town East, Bradley Fair, New Market Square, a lot of them are up north, Patrol North, a couple are Patrol East area, but none of them that I can see right here are DAB 3. That's about all I have, unless you have some questions.
Any questions for Officer Thompson tonight?
I have one, Officer Thompson.
Yes,
The
sir.
UV cameras, it sounds like they've been very successful so far. And I'm wondering, like, it sounds like it's pretty important then if someone notices that their plate is gone or when their car gets stolen, that they call you guys immediately. Is that because that's how it goes into a system that says this is stolen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It goes into the NCIC system. So even in other cities, if there's flat cameras, like some of these stolen cars majority of them are from Wichita and the surrounding areas. But some of them from out of state, like Texas and stuff like that. So, I mean, heck, if I had my car stolen, I would want to get it. I would love to get it back. But it's very important to make sure that you call 911 when your car is stolen, when there's things stolen out of your car, especially debit, credit cards, those type of things, social security cards, driver's licenses. We have packets that we give victims in relation to identity theft, so things that they can do to kind of combat that before it kind of takes hold and digs you into a deep hole to where you're having to deal with the credit bureaus and all that kind of stuff.
And does a resident need to know their license plate number when they call, or can you look that up based on their registration information?
Yes, sir. Yep. You don't need to know your license plate number. I don't know mine. Be honest with you, but but the big thing is that you got to call us. Like some of these stats that I told you about the auto thefts or especially larceny autos. So some of these larceny autos, we have 58 in the past 28 days, but in DAB 3 zone, 9 in the past 28 days with credit cards stolen. Unless there's a credit or debit card stolen, there's people that aren't reporting larceny to their auto. So the numbers are skewed.
Okay, and it only runs off that license plate. Like if the camera picks up at the profile of a car,
yes,
it wouldn't trigger on make and model.
Yeah, well, so it picks up the tag, and the tag is what it focuses on. A lot of times, I got several hits of from our flock system today on stolen cars, stolen plates, and things like that. You'll get a general picture of the back of the car, so you'll be able to tell, oh, it's a Mazda, it has tinted windows, it has a spoiler, that kind of thing. It's a 2-door, it's a 4-door. It just depends on the angle that it gets, but it primarily pays attention to the tag.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions for Officer Thompson?
Officer Thompson, were you over
Sir.
at Chautauqua today when you were doing that video?
I'm sorry?
Were you over on Chautauqua when you did that video today?
On South Chautauqua. I want to do the video. I wasn't in the video, but I believe they were on South Chautauqua.
Well, that's my house, and I wanted to tell you thank you. I told Sergeant Remy
Yes.
to make sure that he left my contraband alone, and he did. And I appreciate that.
All right, hey, thank you. Hey, we appreciate you using that. I appreciate you letting us use the house.
Yep, thank you. Glad I could do it.
Very good.
Awesome.
All right. Officer Sechrist, do you have anything for us today?
Yeah, I have just a little bit to add.
Perfect.
I am out of Patrol South Community Policing. I've been on the police department 21 years now, but I've only been in community policing going on 8 or 9 months. As far as Patrol South goes, I'm not as prepared as Officer Thompson. I didn't bring all the stats and things of that nature. The things that are up and the things that we're seeing in the Patrol South area, I would piggyback the larceny to auto. That, like Officer Thompson said, that's a citywide thing. So it is very important to lock your vehicles, take your items inside. If you can't take an item inside your house or inside a restaurant or whatever the case may be, hide it. Put it under a seat, put it under a blanket, do something to try to conceal that item. Otherwise, there's a very good chance you're going to have that item stolen, especially this time of year. People are hard up for money. So they see that as a way to take something, steal it, go pawn it off, whatever the case is, and get some money for it. Another thing that we are seeing out of Patrol South is those things people are known for as being porch pirates, taking of the items on the porches, the packages. Not to go into too much detail, but we've got a little something special coming up in the next couple weeks through our community policing team out of Patrol South to try to combat that, see if we can nab some people. A lot of times that is just a crime of opportunity. If some people are out doing things and being up to no good, they may see a UPS or FedEx truck drop a gift off, or a box of some sort on a porch, and they'll take that opportunity to run up and grab that item and deal with it as they wish. So we have some plans coming up this next couple of weeks, like I said, to try to combat that and get those numbers down. And another citywide thing that continues to be a problem is the theft of catalytic converters. And for those that don't know what a catalytic converter is, it is part of the muffler system that goes under a vehicle, and usually the ones under trucks or vans, for whatever reason, seem to bring the most attention. So those are the ones we see that are stolen the most. Really, there's no way to combat that, to try to prevent that. That's just if somebody wants to get under your truck or get under your van and steal that, unless it's parked in front of your house, right in front of a camera, there's really no way to prevent somebody from doing that. But these converters go anywhere from $500 up to maybe $1,500. They go and pawn them off at a scrapyard and get cash for it and go do with the cash what they want. So we're trying to combat that. We've also got some assignments coming up that are going to try to prevent that and prevent those thefts from happening. Last year, it's been 2020, but when I say last year, I mean before summer, Southside did a special assignment where we went to every scrapyard in town. We did basically our own audit, as far as each scrapyard has to have documentation on several hundred different things, such as who's bringing the item in, a photograph of the license, the driver's license, the vehicle that they brought it in. The list just goes on and on. So we did an audit and we sent that up to I'm lost for words. The person up in Topeka that is in charge of that through the KBI. We did all that. We sent that up to him, and we're waiting on some results as far as what's going to happen with those scrap yards. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot else unless anybody has any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Has anybody come up with some kind of a die package like they use in money bags that would, when somebody opened it, it would explode and get all over the pirate?
For the porch pirates?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of one, but that is a great idea, and you could probably become a millionaire if you come up with that idea. So, but no, I haven't heard of anything. Then again, I don't know how you would prevent it from going off if if you were the one that legitimately had the package either. So.
No, I'm talking about just setting up like a sting, just
Oh, I gotcha.
randomly putting packages out in the neighborhood to see if we got that many
Sure.
people patrolling.
No,
And
but I might use that idea and steal it from you then and get the credit. So
That's
I
why
appreciate it.
just give me my 10% when you make me.
Absolutely.
Very good. Any other questions for Officer Sechrist? Okay, Officer Bowen. Oh wait, no, that's firefighter Bowen. Sorry, we'll get to you in a second. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. My name's Matt Bowen. I'm Battalion Chief of the Wichita Fire Department. I'm out of Firehouse 1. Been with the department and city for 29 years, just last week. And I'm going to give you some stats from our most recent month. And I'll have a comparison of how it compares to last year. For District 3, overall incidents that the fire department responds to is down 2.1%, with medical calls being down 8.5%. Our service alarms, which a service alarm is check appliance, system alarm in a residence or a business, check smoke, check water type response, is up 40%. And our fire alarms, unfortunately, year over year from the past year for the latest month is up 27% at 33 responses for fires. Lots going on with our department. As Officer Thompson referenced, the pandemic has really adjusted how we work. Most recently, our fire administration has been super proactive. We'd seen an uptick in COVID illnesses in our department and COVID positive tests. So in my 29 years, I haven't seen anything that compares, but aggressively our department responded to this. And essentially what we're doing is we've limited what we call roving. When an individual calls in for an unscheduled leave or even a scheduled leave, like for the upcoming shift, typically some stations have more individuals than others. We would rove to cover that spot. Well, what we've done, we've severely restricted that. We have a shift change policy where employees can trade time, and it's a liberal policy, but we've tightened that up where they can only shift exchange with individuals from that same firehouse. Again, limiting the outside contact and the contact amongst the stations. And where we began at the 13th of October when these measures were implemented versus where we are now, we've seen a great decrease in COVID positive tests. So I think their proactive actions has really benefited the community as far as our ability to respond to your emergencies. Any questions out there? I know there's been a lot of things in the news recently related to emergency response, and I'd welcome any questions to try to answer to my ability.
Any questions at all?
Yeah, Mr. Bowen, the increase in fires, you said it was like 33%. And did you say the smoke alarms?
From September, my most latest data is for District 3 is comparing September 2019 to September 2020. And we've seen a 27% uptick in fire alarms. A lot of times, these things will go in cycles. Wichita responds to a lot of fires, and unfortunately, it's up. This time next year, it very well could be down. So it went from 26 fire alarms in District 3 a year ago to 33. And you look at the expanse of the district, and although we don't like to see that increase, that's something that could be a blip in the typical steady course of our responses. Does that
So
answer
it's
your
not
question?
something, yeah, so it's not something that you're particularly concerned about. It's not because more people are at home now, falling asleep at work and lighting themselves on fire.
I can't say we've seen that trend. We're pretty steady. You know, a lot of people consider the winter time as a fire season because, you know, HVAC and particularly space heaters and maybe not the proper use of extension cords due to the inclement weather. Generally, we'll see a marginal uptick during the winter months. But I don't believe it's cause for concern as far as the difference between this year and last.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else for a firefighter today?
So I'm Officer Batista, and I wanted to let you guys know that we do have a phone number. You know how people can make a report over, you know, they can call 911, go to a station. We have a phone number that we have, it's manned 24/7. So if there's larcenies to autos, tags, things like that, then we can call number of 316-268-4221. And that's our case desk. A lot of people are unaware of this number, and I'll repeat it so you have it. 316-268-4221, and that's case desk. Yeah, people can call that number. There's going to be somebody taking the report over the phone. They don't have to, an officer doesn't have to show up at your house. I mean, there's certain reports that they can take, but those larcenies from autos, tags, things like that, it makes it very convenient. And not only does it not take an officer from the streets to go make the report, but when the person takes a report over the phone, it automatically gets inputted into our system. So like myself, a community policing officer, we can look at the reports that are being generated and we can see where the crime trend is happening pretty close to a real time. So I wanted to give that phone number out. And then also wanted to make you guys aware that we are Patrol East. We've been implementing a lot of, like Officer Manny Thompson was mentioning, that we've been doing a lot of mounted patrols in different neighborhoods. We've been going to Old Town during the daytime, patrolling different shopping centers. Like I said, it's a big deterrent, and we can see very, very, very long distances in parking lots. So that kind of helps us out being mounted. We've also been doing mounted patrols by schools. As you guys are aware, with this virus, we can't interact with kids in those types of settings. So what we've been doing is, as we're doing these mounted patrols or foot patrols, we'll walk by on the other side of the school. We'll wave at the kids. Kids are sometimes during recess. Other times there's been teachers who have been doing remote learning. So a teacher will come out and she'll bring a computer. She'll show us to her class as she's teaching. And at this point, that's the best that we can do. But we want to let the community know that we are there for them.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. Does anybody have any questions? We kind of combined our WPD and fire because of my mistake, but that's okay. Anybody have any questions for WPD or fire? Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Sir,
Please be safe.
Thank you.
I'd like to close with just a few things briefly. Again, recent time change, we need to check our smoke detectors, change batteries, and really would suggest testing your smoke detectors on a monthly basis. Also, contact number for our Community Risk Reduction Division is 268-4451, and they have a Close Before You Doze campaign right now that is critical to the safety of you and your families. I'd highly encourage you to reach out at 268-4451 and get the flyer and information related to Close Before You Doze.
Very good. Thank you so much for the info. If nobody has any other questions, next, be safe, by the way, please, both of our firefighters and our WPD.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, take care, guys. Next, we have Christy Dow with Wichita Public Library. Going to talk quickly about ongoing process with the new Southeast Branch Library. Christy, take it away.
Thank you. The Library Board of Directors, acting as a naming advisory committee, and city staff are in the process of engaging the community to select a name for the new District 3 branch library. And in October, we sent out a survey which garnered 70 unique name ideas. And at the November Library Board meeting, the board members narrowed those names down to their top 5. And we currently have a poll on our website and that we've put out throughout the community for citizens to vote on their favorite name out of those 5 names. The poll will close on Monday, December 7th. And then at the December 15th Library Board meeting, the board members will review the top 3 names from the community vote and then decide on which name they will recommend as the name for the District 3 branch library. So then that will go to City Council, and the City Council has the final decision for what the name for the District 3 branch library will be. So if you still have some time, if you haven't already, to go and look at the poll and vote for your favorite name, and also to get the word out to others. We have spread it out throughout the community through the Neighborhood Resource Center and District 3 different channels and our social media and Nextdoor, but word of mouth is really important as well. So that's why I wanted to come and ask again that you help us to get that word out so that people will have a chance to vote for their favorite name out of those 5. And then I also wanted to just quickly also update you that we have reverted back to curbside service and drive-up window service only at this point. The decision was made by library staff due to the rising numbers of COVID cases in Wichita and the situation with our hospitals. Customers are able to borrow materials from the library by placing holds through our online catalog or by calling different branch locations, and we'll be happy to place holds on the items that people would like to check out. We are waiving the hold and transfer fees at this point in time, since that's the way that we're requiring people place a hold in order to pick up their materials. When materials are ready for pickup, customers will be notified, and then they can come and get those items. Public computing is not available right now, but copy, print, and fax service is still available at all locations through our curbside or drive-up service. And the library's digital collection is available 24/7 on Overdrive and Flipster through our website. And right now we're also, the registration for our winter session of virtual programs at the library is available online. So we are holding programs through Zoom so that customers can still attend some interesting classes or programs. And customers will receive an email and with the Zoom login information the day before the event. So those are my quick updates for what's going on at the library right now. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
I have a question. Do you mind listing the 5 finalists
Sure.
and maybe a brief history of who
Yes.
they are? Because I didn't
Sure.
recognize the names.
Okay, I'll go in alphabetical order. So the Ad Astra Branch Library, so that's To the Stars is the Kansas state motto, and libraries help lift members of the community through resources and services. Second, the Carl Brewer Branch Library. Carl Brewer served as the 100th mayor of the city of Wichita from 2007 to 2015. He was the first elected African-American mayor and led the city council towards approving the Advanced Learning Library. Among his many attributes, many residents viewed him as a champion of public services for all members of the community. Third is the Cynthia Berner Branch Library. Cynthia Berner was the Director of Libraries for the Wichita Public Library from 2000 to 2020. She just retired in September and worked for the library system previously since 1984. Her career was dedicated to building a strong, leading-edge library system to serve current community needs and expand services for future generations. And she worked really hard to get a library back into District 3 because there was a long period of time where District 3 did not have library services in the district. The fourth one is the Meadowlark Branch Library. Meadowlark is the name of the former drive-in theater that once stood near the site of the new library. It's the name of a nearby park and neighborhood, and it's the official Kansas state bird. And then lastly, the Ronald Walters Branch Library. Dr. Ronald W. Walters was an American author, speaker, and scholar of African-American politics. In 1958, Walters organized the Dockham Drugstore Sit-In, one of the first lunch counter sit-ins in the civil rights movement. He was the director of the African American Leadership Institute and scholar practitioner program, distinguished leadership scholar at the James McGregor Burns Academy of Leadership, and professor in government and politics at the University of Maryland. He was born in Wichita.
Thank you.
Sure. Any
All right.
questions?
Any other questions? Okay, I've had some people from the community call me about the names, and some like them, some don't, but I recommend everybody please go to the website and please put in your, I'm gonna say in this case, 5 cents worth in, and your suggestions for either one of those 5 names, or even if you have maybe another name you'd like to float out there, this is the time. So, all right. Thank you so much, Christy. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Next, we have our public. Let me see here. I apologize. Lost it. Here we go. We have no scheduled public agenda items. Any off-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move on to new business. We have conditional use 2020-30. Matt, I see Matt's on here with us today, who's going to give us kind of an update on this conditional use.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Matt Williams, a planner for the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. The first case I have for you tonight is conditional use 2020 number 30. This is at 3315 South Walnut Street, and the applicant is requesting a conditional use for an accessory apartment behind their primary residence. An accessory apartment is kind of like a
Looks like we lost Matt for a second there. I'd hate to have to defer this. And I believe Matt has the next item as well, so we may be up the creek here.
Has everybody, I guess I would ask, has everybody read the documentation supplied?
Good question. Anybody have any questions? Looks like Matt went away. He's probably going to load this back up. I will say that, oh, there he is. Matt, go right ahead and continue.
Sometimes if you turn off your video feed, Matt, it can make the choppiness go away.
Can you hear me now?
Can do.
Okay, sorry, I just jumped on my phone real quick. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is conditional use 2020 number 30. So the applicant is requesting
conditional use to allow their accessory apartment in the back of their house. And in this case, that accessory apartment has been there as long as the owner can remember. It's an all single family neighborhood. It falls outside of the established central area. And in this case, the planning department is recommending approval of the conditional use. This went to our planning commission on November 19th, and it was approved unanimously. There are a couple pictures in the staff reports that show where the accessory apartment is. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is
Matt,
Jared. Oh, go ahead, Richard.
well, I was just going to ask, how do we, I mean, and maybe it doesn't matter, but how do we know that we're not setting precedents when something is done that's, I guess, illegal more or less according to zoning laws, and then they get caught and then they put in this thing, oh, well, let me make it right by doing this. I mean, where do we draw the line? Because it seems like anybody can do that and just come in and say, well, I'll make it right with MAPD and they'll approve it.
Right. You know, I think that's something that the planning commission usually has to grapple with. And what do you say, you know, what do you give permission to? And then where do you draw the line at saying we have to stop this and people need to ask permission ahead of time? I'm sure Mrs. Miles would have a lot to say about that. In this case, I believe it came up when the property owner was trying to sell their house, and something with the process of selling the property, they realized that this was on the property and had never gotten the approval it needed. It sounds like it's been there for decades. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point.
So then the next question would be, do we need to develop some sort of criteria for having a better approval process that doesn't necessarily support the kind of finagling that we talked about? So if it's been there before there was a zoning, then that would be a slam dunk, like, yeah, I mean, let's do that. But if it was built after the zoning, then maybe that's something that we really need to scrutinize other factors. And I'm not sure what those factors could be unless there was a neighborhood plan, say, that specifically said no, or if it were to otherwise negatively impact the neighborhood's look and feel.
Right. I think you make a good point. I think that when the planning department looks at it, you know, we take that into consideration a little bit, that it's already been there. But we also think, you know, if it weren't there, would we recommend approval of it being there? And in this case, we would recommend that it be approved. So because it's already been built, doesn't come into play as much in this case. Some of the setback issues where somebody builds, you know, a carport or a garage in their setback and it's really close to their neighbor's property, that becomes more difficult, because if you tell them they can't have it, then they're, you know, it's a huge expense to them to have to tear it down. But at the same time, we might not have approved it in the first place. So I think that becomes a difficult one to balance.
And it's really been my experience as well. Most people, especially ones that have been decades old like this one, most people build or do something out of ignorance. Now, ignorance isn't, you know, doesn't give you a pass. But again, I think planning department really takes a good approach. Would we have approved this or not? If it's a safety issue within the community or disruption, they'll definitely go through and recommend that there be a denial of such things. I've seen it happen in other areas, not so much in District 3. Although there was actually a house over that was being used as a duplex. It had two entrances. It wasn't there for duplex zoning, and it was actually, I believe, in the Meadowlark neighborhood at Oliver and Mount Vernon. And they were, you know, it wasn't zoned for it, and it wasn't inspected to be a duplex. And we The district advisory board said that it shouldn't be because it was right in the middle of a single family neighborhood. And that was the ability to do that was taken away. And so, there have, in that instance, after the fact, after it had been made a duplex, it was ruled that they couldn't do that because it didn't meet the zoning requirements. So I have seen it go both ways. So it's a good question. Good question, Richard.
And so Matt, so you,
Richard, you're muted.
oh, so I'm sorry. You had said that if it wasn't there, that MAPD would likely have approved it's being built. So what, if it's against the zoning, what factors would influence MAPD to go against zoning and recommend something be built?
Well, I would say that it's not against zoning. These accessory dwelling units are not allowed by right in this zoning district, but there is a process that will allow them, and that's going through this conditional use process. And so we look at it, it increases the ability for people maybe to live in place. In this case, or I mean, not in this case, but in some cases, it could be an elderly family member that's still staying near the property, allowing another family member to live back there. So I think there's a lot of good that these do bring, and that's why we have a process that does allow them. So it's not a variance where we're allowing something that's against code to stay. It's more that these are allowed under certain circumstances, and they went through the process for that to be allowed.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Matt? If there are no more questions, I would entertain a motion.
There's several of them houses in that area that have mother-in-law houses in the back. These are really deep lots. It's just 2 houses from me, and there's several of, they've taken garages and turned them into mother-in-law or father-in-law houses in the back, and still have the garage in the front. They'll have a half address, like 3328 and a half, which would be the mother-in-law's address in the back. And the lots are really deep. They're over half-acre lots, so they're really deep, and they're over a half a block long. And so a lot of people in the early 50s, well, it would be 56, 58, started building mother-in-law houses in there. So if you go to checking, you'll probably find that half the houses in that area have a house in the back or living quarters in the back.
So Ron, this is Jared. Since
Yeah.
this is in your neighborhood, do you have a problem with this, or have you
I
seen
don't
any
have a problem.
problems?
I didn't even know it was there, but there's the second house up. It's got a driveway all the way to the back, and you can see that somebody's living back there because they'll have lights on. There's a couple more in that same area. All these in that block area, if you look at the map, they're all real deep. They're half a block long. So you can actually, the house across the street from me, they split the block, the lot in half, and put 4 houses across it because they faced onto 33rd Street. This house is on Walnut and 3300 block. I went by and looked at it. You can't even tell there's a apartment back there because it looks like a garage.
And does this bring more tax revenue from that property?
I can't answer that, sir. All I know is there's several of them on Osage and some on Silver in this area that have, if you go looking and look at the map, you'll see a little house in the back of every lot. They're not all garages.
I would say to answer about the value, although I can't answer about this. Yes, an accessory dwelling can add value to a property. It can add value to a neighborhood as well, and not be a detractor, depending on how it's done and whether or not it meets code. You know, there's a lot of factors that are involved. The People for Places plan that was passed and approved by the city council and adopted is helping with some of these zoning requirements. It's, I don't want to say loosen the rules, but it's allowed for it to be easier for people to build these in neighborhoods if there's no objection by the neighbors. It's intended, the People for Places for People plan is intended to help neighborhoods revitalize with new construction and to make them unique. And so there has been some effort to make doing these a little bit easier. Again, if it meets all the requirements, especially neighborhood wishes. So that being said, is there any more questions for Matt on this zoning item?
Might mention that there is no very little on-street parking. It's all off-street parking. They get real long driveways, and everybody parks off the street, which I don't ever have a problem getting up and down that street. So they're parking in the back more.
Well, I guess I would make a motion that we approve the request
I'll second it.
as written.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All right. That being said, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I'm gonna abstain.
Very good. Motion carries. Next, we have a conditional use 2020-35. Matt, you can take that one as well. You're muted, Matt.
Sorry. Looks like this one is at the northeast corner of Hillside and 31st Street. This is a conditional use for outdoor vehicle sales. The applicant's requesting that to be a conditional use. Looks like it's a vacant one-story Quick Trip surplus building that's being turned into this. The zoning around this project is limited commercial. We are recommending approval of the conditional use, subject to the site being limited to the sales of cars and light trucks or pickups, and then a few other items in the staff report that will hopefully make this use fit in with the surrounding area. Be happy to answer any questions about this. This goes to Planning Commission tomorrow.
So just a reminder, this is not in a redevelopment area. Normally we have issues with these down in the south central part of town on the South Broadway corridor. This is not in one of those overlay zones. So you can't take that into consideration at this point. But it is over in an area just right outside of Plainview, and really some similar type things in the area. Matt, I think this was really like either across the street or cat corner from a gas station or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looks like, I'm looking at the area, it looks like maybe to the west there's a gas station, and it looks like this is an old Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
James, I don't think that gas station's in operation. I don't think.
Is it not?
No, I drive by there pretty frequently, and I've never seen much activity, and the gas prices are like 252 on the signs, and they've been that way for a year. So
Well, thanks. I drive by there all the time, but it's at night.
yes,
After
somebody might be using it for storage, but I don't think they're doing any work out of there.
Okay. Well, I go there to get my Chiang Mai takeout all the time, and on my way home from this cafe. So I haven't noticed it being closed, but I appreciate that very much. Any discussion or questions?
+1 for Chiang Mai.
Oh, amen.
There is a just north of that, I think there's a tire and wheel store. And I think and it's a building that they want to go into that was a Quick Trip, I believe, for a long time. It's been for a while. I don't think there's any issues with traffic coming and going in that area. It might bring some more folks down to that area to help keep Chiang Mai in operation. And that's in my own self-interest, I admit, because my wife loves their pad see ew and drunken noodles. So yeah, so I don't know that there's a traffic issue, but that's normally something that you would look at. Is that right, Matt?
In this case, because it used to be a gas station and there's two entrances and exits, we would assume that a small car lot is going to have less traffic than that, so it would be fine for the area.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm not sure it's a concern. I think just north of it is a car wash, and then you have the tire service, and then you have some upholstery shops, and you have one repair shop that I believe is selling a few vehicles. And I think they came before us years ago, but I think there's like 4 or 5 angled that face the west. So I don't think it's going to be a bad thing, because I think it'll help bring traffic to all the businesses that are down there. But I just wanted to let everybody know, because I drive by there frequently. I pretty much know, and there's restaurants, liquor stores across the street, which would be a good source for people to see that there's maybe decent cars on the corner. So I'm in favor of it, but I just wanted to let you know what I'd seen.
Very good. So do any other comments or a motion that anybody wants to make?
This is Jared. I would move that we accept it. Go ahead, Catherine.
I was just recommending approval.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Catherine and a second by Jared. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstentions?
I abstain.
All right, motion carries. Matt, thank you so much for tonight. Appreciate it. Have a safe holiday. We'll see you hopefully in the future.
All right, see you later.
Okay, moving on. We have just updates and reports. Wanted to give some big kudos to Richard Ruth and his group for being amazing in the community and helping clean up the house. You may have seen it on the news. Excellent job, Richard. We appreciate all of your amazing efforts. You're putting so much energy into the city. We really appreciate that. I won't embarrass you too much more.
Well, a big thank you to Cindy and Mike Miles too for helping with that garage and for bringing Rapid Fire Ministries in to shore up that 2-car garage and to do a lot of the carpentry work. And Cindy and Mike have been out there on Fridays and Saturdays and whatever weather, tending to the needs of that garage. And the KSN story also sent someone to me that works for the state of Kansas who works with people who have a disability to gain employment. And she's also going to be able to help that homeowner get a diagnosis. She does not have a diagnosis for her frequent seizures that have prevented her from getting gainfully employed. So once that happens, then I can go to rest on that particular house and move on. But it's good to see that there's so many skills, assets that are in our neighborhood. It's really remarkable when you scratch the surface how many talented people there are who are willing to give their talents to their neighbors. So thank you to everybody in District 3 for that.
This is what makes our community so amazing. Cindy, thank you. Please thank your husband for me too. I didn't realize you guys were that involved. Thank you so much. And this is something that the neighboring movement, Catherine can even speak to that, has been trying to cultivate. This is kind of happening organically because of Richard's leadership in his neighborhood and area. And so, wow, very good. This is, these are the kinds of things that I've been encouraging and the things that city government really can't do as efficiently as people that care and want to volunteer. So thank you so much for that, guys. You guys are what make this community amazing. And I'm not just saying that, I really mean it. Thank you. Okay, anything else from around your neighborhoods that is going on?
December 5th at 8 a.m., the SOCI Neighborhood Association is doing an alley cleanup. It's the Topeka Alley. People are going to meet at the dumpster on Clark between Topeka and Broadway at 8 a.m. and work to finish off cleaning up those two alleys. So if anybody wants to come out, it's a lot of fun. You warm up really, really fast. Come for as long as you like. Enjoy the fellowship. It's a good time.
Very good. Thank you for that reminder. Anybody else?
James, this is George Theoharis. Hey, I met
bet.
with the chief. I met with the chief today, and there was some questions that I put out there to several neighborhoods if they had any concerns, and he came and he took the concerns with him, and he's going to answer those here in the next couple of days. So I wanted to tell everyone on Nextdoor, thank you for whoever put some concerns out there, and we'll have answers here in the next few days for those answers, for those questions.
Thanks for facilitating that. I'll meet with the chief here in the next couple of days, and I'll follow up with him and see how that's going.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Anybody else?
I got a question.
You bet.
A tree down in our neighborhood's got a big old branch that's falling into itself. Looks like a hazardous, and I just wondered if it looks like it's on the property owner's property, not on city. Is there any way we can encourage the owner to take the tree down, because the limb is going to hurt somebody one of these days?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's anything the city can do to force the property owner to do that. A lot of times these sorts of things are civil matters between neighbors, unfortunately. Now, if the tree is on city property, obviously, yes, the city will come take care of it pretty quick.
Well, it's close to the curb, but I think it's over 15 feet away.
Well, I
So
tell you what
I
we can do. We can always send someone out there to look at it. And they can knock on the door of the owner if it's not on the city property and encourage them to get it trimmed and let them know about the hazard. And that's definitely something we can do. Maddie, if you'd be willing to follow up on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, do you have that address?
34th and Walnut.
34th and Walnut?
Yep. The big old dead tree there on the corner.
Which corner? Southeast,
Northeast.
southwest? What is it?
Northeast.
Okay.
All right, we can get.
I see a hazard there that somebody's going to get hurt the next wind, and I don't know what to do about it because I'm not sure it's on city property. So
Well, there is an ordinance that if a limb or any fallen wood on a property has to get removed.
Yeah, I know. I've got 3 or 4 of them in the neighborhood. I'm gonna
Yeah, so then
turn
the other
in,
thing
but
is that
this,
neighborhood
this
is.
is, this is a personal hazard in the air.
Uh-huh.
And you know, the
Gotcha.
ones that's on the ground, nobody's gonna get hurt on it. I'm afraid the wind's gonna shift some night. Some kid that's a walkway for the kids from South High to the crosswalk there, and they walk right underneath of it.
Well, we could definitely be an encouragement to help them get it trimmed. And Maddie, I guess if we can let the arborist know or inspection or whoever goes out, that if they find an indication that the person might not be able to afford to have that trimmed, maybe we can get the court liaison to find some resources for them to help them get that done.
I appreciate it, James.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll follow up on those things. Everybody, we will not be meeting in January.
James, we do have a new business item. So I don't know if it can wait till February, but it's the 3rd year program action plan and getting a GRC representative.
Okay, if that ends up being something that's critical for January, we may, let me look real quick at the calendar, but we may, well, it's January 6th, so we could possibly still meet on January 6th. If they absolutely need to do it, then we'll go ahead and put the one thing on the agenda,
Okay.
but we'll just leave it at the one thing. And if they can wait until February, we will just wait until February. Everybody look in your emails, wait for your email, an email confirmation of what we'll be doing. But normally January is pretty slow. And if there's nothing on the calendar, then we won't meet. That being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
We
3rd.
have a motion, a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
And
those
Merry
opposed say-
Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas,
everybody.
everybody.
Happy
Have a safe-
holidays.
Have a safe holiday.
Stay away from the
New Year.
virus.